Hey guys, it's me, Mike Taylor. We've got ARC 316, and I've been getting a lot of questions about when am I going to be doing a Twinmotion tutorial. So, full disclosure, I don't know Twinmotion, so I spent the last week or so learning it as best as I can. And this full disclosure also, again, is that I do know a bunch of other rendering softwares. I just don't happen to know Twinmotion. So if you're like, man, he learned so much in a week, don't take that as it'll take you a week to learn. It'll probably take you a little longer. I find this Twinmotion is actually one of the most intuitive pieces of software I've ever used. It is fantastic. So far I only have good things to say. I did run into some hiccups with some VPN stuff, so I want to walk you through a couple how to get it installed, how to get it up and running, and how to get it started. That's basically, I want you guys to get started, and then I'll post some other tutorials that I thought were really good on YouTube that I watched that now you guys can either choose to also watch, or you can skip depending on your level of intuition and how you're feeling about the actual software. So like I said, it's pretty good. Probably some of the best that I've seen in terms of interface. A little slow on the navigation, but we'll get into that in a little bit here. So with that being said, why don't I just fire up, the first thing here is we got to make sure that we've got everything installed. So, it comes with Revit. So that's the first thing you should know, is that Twinmotion comes with Revit. Nobody should be paying for anything. So let's just make sure we've got that all down. I'm just going to share my screen here. Oh, whoops. Share my screen here. Cancel. Whoops. Close out of this. And we got the Revit stream here. So actually, before I do this, let's just jump over to Chrome here. So two things. First things first, we've got inside of Autodesk, right? So we got the Autodesk website here, our products and services. Please make sure you go in here and you sign in and blah, blah, blah. And I expect that everybody's got Revit 2025 kind of all hanging out in there. And if you don't, then go get Revit 2025 and get that up and installed. Second piece is going to be kind of all the way down here, and you have to install Twinmotion itself. So if you are wondering, everybody says, oh, Revit 2025 comes with Twinmotion. That is technically true, but you need to go get it. So if you're like, man, I hit the Twinmotion button and it's not working. That was my first kind of hiccup a couple days ago learning this software. Was I was going, everything in Revit says I just hit this button and it works. So by this button, I mean over in view here, this Twinmotion button. That Twinmotion button does nothing until you've installed the software. So just for everybody's awareness, if you're like, man, I tried installing it, blah, 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 that doesn't work. So you got to come over here, come in on Autodesk, hit this little access button. It's going to bring you to a new website. You got to come over here. You got to download. Oh, my Twinmotion access has expired. Let's try this again. Speak of the devil. Twinmotion access has expired. So hold on, it's going to ask me to sign in. It must be again here. So let's see what we got. Interesting. So I think it's just going to be this little download up here. Get Twinmotion and download now. I think this is it. And then download the launcher. No, this is not correct. I had a straight to download here, so something's going on. Let's hit this access again. Twinmotion has accessed. Okay. Give me 1 second here, guys. I'm going to have to restart my Chrome browser here and see if it's going to let me back in. I was thinking to have this open for us so that we could just install it. It doesn't appear to be the case. So, Autodesk. You got to sign in here. This could be a little tedious, so let's make sure this all shakes out. So sign in. Let's go. Usually takes a second. Asks me for my credentials. Sure. Let's go. Sign in again. Close. Good to go. And then I'm going to jump over to products and services. And I'm going to come all the way down here to Twinmotion for Revit, hit axis. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Sorry, it was confusing me. So you should see, this is a screen you should see. I'm not sure why it gave me that expired link there. Anyhow, I'm going to keep going here. Careful with which version we're installing. We want to make sure we grab this Twinmotion 2824 1.2 Revit installer.zip. And just so everybody knows, I found it that it wouldn't let me install straight from the zip file. I actually had to extract the file straight to where it was living. In my case, it's living in the downloads. So for instance, I've deleted it, but you should end up with a zip file. And then what you're going to do is you're going to right click and unzip that file. So make sure you do that. And then once you have that, you're going to open up our little Twinmotion here. You're going to grab this Twinmotion Revit setup, let that run. It is going to take, at 16 gigs to download the original file. It's going to take some time to download it. And then the second piece is when we've got, to download it onto your home machines. And then the second piece is going to be what you're actually installing. It's pretty quick on the install, around 5-10 minutes. Not too bad. But during the install, make sure that you're hanging out because it is going to ask you to download, I think it's a C++ distributable. You don't have to worry about, what that is. It just needs it to run. So it's going to say, can I install this other thing? And you're going to need to install that. It's just a Microsoft C++ redistributable file. Happens sometimes with video games, this type of thing. I'm not entirely sure what it's for, but just install that as well. So you have Twinmotion, and that should be it. So one thing I did notice, just because you guys may or may not see this, if you have a VPN, this is going to sound totally crazy. It took me, 4 hours yesterday to figure this out. If you have a VPN while Twinmotion is running, I could not get the Twinmotion software to run while my virtual private network was up and running. If you have a VPN, make sure it's disabled while you're running Twinmotion. I know it's ridiculous. For those of us who use VPNs, I'm scratching my head going, why won't the software run? And the way that you'll notice it not running is that you'll open your model inside of Twinmotion and you'll get basically a blank screen. So if anybody has those issues, there is a kind of list of why things go wrong from Autodesk, and I'll post that in the YouTube summary comments below. Okay, cool. So basically, that's it. We should be up and running. So what I've done is, what I'll do is I'll float you through. Have I closed Revit? No. I'll float you through a kind of version that I've got open. So what I'll do now is just open up an existing model that I've been kind of messing around with over the past couple days here, trying to get a feel for the navigation and the tools within it, and basically what you can end up with. This is by no means the best. This is a passable rendering at best. But just so you guys could see it, there are a couple things that we want to do here. And what I'm going to do first, like I said, is I will start with an existing model, and then I'll jump to how you start a model from scratch. So I kind of want to show you what we want to get to first, and then I'll show you how to get there. So if that makes sense. So first things first, your Twinmotion now should be active. So we're going to jump over here to the View tab. This little Twinmotion dropdown. Now there's a whole bunch of little tools in here. We're really just focusing on Open and Twinmotion. You might look at AutoSync and Synchronize. Depending on how powerful your PC is, you can turn on AutoSync if you want. This is going to automatically update based on changes you make to the model. So it'll change your rendering based on changes you made inside the model. Synchronize is a more manual way, so we can kind of manually synchronize with the model itself. So I wouldn't touch any of these other things. Leave everything else here. This isn't for us right now. Hit this little Open in Twinmotion, and we should have something fired up. So I'm thinking how I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you how I did it, and then I'm going to come back and show you how you can do it. So you guys can get to where I'm at right now. So for me, don't do this part. For me, don't do this part. I'm just showing you what I've got kind of all fired up. I'll show you how we can get there. So I'm going to do my existing project. Just wait and give me 5 minutes and I'll just show you the existing, and then we'll back up and we'll start a project from new. So I'm going to hit OK. Here we go. Open. So I have an existing Twinmotion file in here. It's quite large, 217 megs. Hit OK. And I'll show you what I've been up to. So it's going to take a couple seconds here. And we should have a nice little model all set up. So this is the model. I figured it was nice to have a little nighttime shot. We've got, the snow, the trees, some rocks covered in snow. So just so you could see, this is the, Autodesk, our little basic axo in here. I should say that when we are starting out Twinmotion, we want to make sure we're inside of a 3D view. So Twinmotion here, I as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening. It's a whole bunch of stuff on the screen. I found this probably the most overwhelming part was, what am I looking at, right? What am I trying to get to here? And for us, really, I'd like to start with just a couple things, an overview of the, I like to start with navigation. So why don't we start there? So overview of the interface, start with navigation. We'll look at the kind of scene hierarchy, and then we can start getting into some of the library components. So yeah, so I'm going to just scroll out here. So this gives us all our view abilities here. So orbit is left button. Look around is right mouse button. Pan is middle mouse button. So if I want to pan, I can, pan. If I want to orbit, I can orbit. I can click and hold to orbit. If I want to zoom, of course, my little scroll wheel here. For those of us who game, for those of us who are avid gamers, if we really like to hang out in the 3D gaming environment, we've got the WSAD controls here. So you can see I'm just kind of backing up here. I'm holding the S key down. If we want to go a little bit faster, we can hold Shift and S to speed things up. The other thing that we can do is up and down. So right now, if I've got the Q and E here, so I'm going to Q to go up, E to come down. I can go all the way through the floor here. Q to go up, E to come down. Kind of just floating around here. I'm doing multiple things at the same time, rotating. Here I want to pan. This is all for kind of setting up our view or navigating the model, right? So up and down. And then the last thing here in our little navigation tab is this 1 to 6. So 1, I'm going to hit 1. You can see nice and slow, almost imperceptibly slow. 2, a little faster, 3, 4, 5, 6, lightning speed. So lightning speed is 6 here. I'm like a little drone flying around like a little bee hanging out. So I usually like to hit around 4 for when I'm kind of cruising around the model here. I got a full, I got a whole bunch of stuff in this model that I'm going to show you guys how to get into the model for us. But I just come in all the way in here. Whoops. All the way in here. I got some people hanging out, right? Whoops. Q. So yeah. So that's a little bit on navigation, right? So we got the way that we're navigating around the model. I should say that there's another different style of navigation. If we're someone who really likes to keep things at we'll call it not a pedestrian level, but as if you were doing a walkthrough. So maybe this might be something you might do with a client. I find that it could be a little challenging to kind of fly around the model like I'm doing right now with a client or with, say during your presentation. It could be a little distracting to just, go, okay, let me just show you this room. Okay, now we're going to go over here. So try your best not to do that. I would suggest what we're going to do is we're going to craft a couple of key views for the project. I'm going to show you how to do a couple videos, kind of export walkthroughs, if that's what we want to do. And yeah, so just for right now, looking at navigation, there's one version of this, which is the pedestrian view. If I just jump over here and I got to remind myself what these do. What does this one do? Oh, time of day. So that's okay. Time of day, cycle speed. So this is how fast I'm going. I think this is a screenshot. So you can take a screenshot of any view that you've got kind of open in real time. And then down here, we've got pedestrian mode or drone mode. So if I hit this pedestrian mode here, I'm going to hit this. It's going to drop me right to the ground. You can see here I'm just kind of cruising around. We've got my buddy Victor out here, doing what he's doing. One thing you will notice that I found a little tedious in this software was anything that I've got that's solid, like a door, I literally can't move through. So I don't know if there's a way to get around this. I haven't found a feasible solution. So what I usually do is I delete the door, go through the door. I'm going to turn around, hold my right mouse button. So yeah, I haven't found a workaround for how to bring back those doors, move through those doors without actually just undoing that step. So I don't really have a solution for us, but that's okay. I'm going to quit media mode right now. Let's get rid of this. So, now I'm inside. I'm actually in drone mode right now. I should say that, moving around, it's going to keep moving around here. Check out our office here. So I got pedestrian mode. I'm going to slow us down a little bit. 3, just moving around. You might use this, say you got a client presentation. You might use this as part of your pitch or part of your presentation style. I leave it to you guys. I do think that when we are using the walk around view, this could be pretty helpful to kind of just walk around the building and, check out the rooms. In this case, I've got a whole bunch of Entourage hanging out here, but why don't we just head back outside? I'll show you guys something real quick here. Again, back to our delete. Actually, you know what? I should show you. So the other workaround is rather than do it that way, we could flip back to drone mode here, and no issues flying through things in drone mode. The other thing with drone mode is we can fly through anything. So in fact, as I'm kind of coming down, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I can fly through the floor, through the walls. I would advise, if I hadn't said this already, advise against kind of all of these really quick momentum-based fly-throughs. I think they can be a little distracting for us. So one thing that I did notice when I was using the software for the first time was that if I come back to I'm going to scroll up here in my little hierarchy all the way to the top. Oh my goodness, so many things. All the way to the top. If I go to my view here and I set up my pedestrian mode, and for instance, if I turn off my starting ground and I move, I now am falling into infinity. So gravity has taken over and I'm now falling into infinity, which, like it or not, that is, I have now cast a little Doctor Strange portal, and like in Rivals, I'm now flying at infinite speed, terminal velocity, down and down and down. I can look up, I can look down. Nothing will save me. So what I would suggest is, because this did happen to me, I went, oh, for goodness sakes. So make sure you got your starting ground on. Make sure you have some sort of geometry for your terrain set up. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn drone mode back on. And now we're just kind of floating in space, completely useless. I'm surrounded by the environment that I've set up. But one thing we can do is in our little hierarchy tree over here, if we just select some element, it doesn't really matter what element you choose, and tap F on our keyboard, it'll bring us back to some element. Now we can find ourselves, right? So I found that just a little trick for me as I was kind of going through learning this software this last week here, or I should say last couple days, that it can be really helpful if you get lost, just to find some piece of geometry within the hierarchy here over here on the right, and make sure that we can kind of hit that little F key, and it'll bring us back to brass tacks and back to where we want to be. Okay, so for whatever reason, the last time I did this, it jumped me out. I'm gonna try and make sure I don't cover up the screen as I do this as well. Anyhow, so one thing is there anything else in here that I want to cover? Not really. I can't remember if I already covered this stuff, but I'm going to do it again anyways. So we've got the time of day, the speed, which I think I covered, screenshot, if you want to take a screenshot of any of these things. This is what we were just covering, so I assume I've already talked about this. VR, you can connect a VR headset to this stuff. If you're really interested, you can, of course, connect a Oculus Rift or any of those fancy VR headsets, the Meta, whatever it's called now. Some other views. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't mess around too much with these, but they are, some of these very interesting choices of view. Not for me, but if you guys want to mess around with them, totally cool. How do I get back to what I was just looking at? I think it's just the axo here. Cool, right? So yeah, kind of floating around. So I should say that there are a couple of things that before we kind of get started, I'm going to restart this whole thing. Before we do that though, I just kind of want to get across the idea of when we do some of these renderings or images, I should say, is we really want to capture with intention what the meaning behind each of these images are that we're going to be rendering, right? So what is the purpose of the rendering? Am I showing off an entrance? Am I showing off a material? Am I showing off this space? Do I really want a great shot of this brickwork? Is there, what is the idea that I'm trying to convey in my rendering as part of a visual demonstration of an idea? Seems pretty straightforward. Oftentimes in rendering, I think what happens is, myself included, even when I started this, I was so caught up with the idea of getting materials onto the model that I wasn't really paying attention to the views. And in older, I'm dating myself, but 2003, older technologies, things like Form Z, you had to really be intentional with how we were doing these renderings because it took so much computing power. Even 20 years ago, it took so much computing power to make these renderings operate. This real-time rendering thing just didn't exist, right? So this is a pretty phenomenal little piece of software. The goal is really think of yourself like a filmographer, somebody making film, a director, maybe is easier, or a photographer. You're trying to set up a shot. You're trying to set up a shot for you, for the client, for the project, to say, what am I trying to show with this shot? You are behind the camera inside of a virtual environment. So it's no different than in real life. What is the shot that I'm trying to take with my camera? And the reason that's important is as we get into more of the rendering parts of this, there's a kind of fascination with wanting to get materials on every single piece of the building. But I'm reflecting again on my experience 20 years ago and since then, is that we want to craft these images in meaningful ways to communicate ideas about the project. So how do I get across an idea with, I don't want to say minimal effort, but what we want to do is create it like a frame, like a set. So if you think about in Hollywood, when we're making a film, we've got a kind of shot, right? What's the shot? Everything outside of that shot isn't really important, so we don't have to worry about it. So when we're creating these kind of images, what I want you to focus on is what is in the image. And then you can really kind of start to ignore some of the other things. Makes sense, right? So it's no different than real life. What's in the viewfinder, what's in the frame, what's in the shot. So I've gone ahead and I've set up a couple views here. So I just want to take you through this real quick. If you hit that little media tab, I've already set up a couple here, but we've got a couple views, and these are just some starting views for me to get an idea of what the exterior of the building looks like. And then I've done a couple interior shots as well. These are mostly, these are pretty loose, guys. So be kind to me, be kind to yourselves when you're trying to set these up. But I just want to walk you through a couple examples. And then what we can do is I'll show you how to actually set these up in the next model here. So if I just jump down here, how do I want to do this? I'll show you the examples and then I'll show you how to set them up. So let's do it this way. So I'm going to double click. Right now, these are already set up. If I double click on here, I've got, all right, cool. I've got, a bunch of stuff set up in this view, everything from the focal length of the shot all the way to, this vignetting and all this other fun stuff in here. I'll talk about those in a little bit. Another shot here, the other side of the building, for example. Maybe we got another shot just to the edge here. So what am I trying to include? What am I trying to convey here? And then some interior shots, right? So interior 1, interior 2, a little wider angle here. Interior 3, interior 4, looking back a little bit, right? So just some idea of what's going on. If I jump back to our image 1 here, I'll just walk you through a couple of these things. So actually, let's do a new one. It's going to make more sense. I'll jump here. Usually I like to keep just a kind of more general view hanging out so we can kind of assess what's going on without mucking about with all of these other focal length issues. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to set us up a new view, a kind of head-on view of our building. And what I'm going to do here is, jump to little pedestrian mode here. Focal length. What focal length does is changes the focal length. So right now we have a very a 20 millimeter focal length, and more conventional would be around 35, right? So if we set it to 35 here, what I'm going to have to do, okay, I'm falling through the floor again. So let's just let's try that all over again. So that does happen. Careful with that. So a pedestrian view, that's why I mentioned it, was because that pedestrian view can be a little hairy sometimes when we change almost anything. It seems it's pretty sensitive. So let's try that again. I'm still at 35. That's cool. Try and get everything in the shot here. And if I click back to my image, click on my image here, we'll get a bunch of these settings here. So I've got focal length, I've got vignetting. So vignetting, keep an eye on the outer edge of our square here, outer edge of our square. What I've got is I can change the kind of vignetting here. This is a kind of common feature of most, I think all camera lenses. You end up with a little shadow around the outside edge. So it's up to you. It's kind of a personal preference. It can look good, it can look bad. If we want to keep it nice and clean, set it to 0, so on. So sharpness, usually set it to 0. Chromatic aberration, it's up to you if you want to mess with this. This is a little, I'm going to say strange. I don't officially know what a chromatic aberration means. To me, it looks like artifacts on the screen. One really helpful tool is this little align camera tool. So if I hit this little align camera here, jump in here, and I'm going to click the face of my building, that is now aligned me perpendicular. So I've got my camera, I'm now perpendicular to the shot. Pretty helpful, right? Pretty good. You know, if we're wondering if we're not parallel to the front of our building, well, now we certainly are. We've got a kind of wonderful ability to get that view kind of centered and set up. Depth of field, you're welcome to mess with that if you want. I didn't mess with it too much. You can kind of set it up to, you know, increase it or decrease it. You know, maybe you want to kind of blur out the background there, right? So we're setting up our depth of field to be, you know, roughly, anyways, I'm going to turn it off. Turn it off. I don't really care about that. And then we've got some other things that are happening inside of the view. Every time that I make an update, I want to make sure I come over here to my little media, little tab in here. If I click media, you know, it's going to pull this up. If I come over here, this all the way over here, there's a little refresh here, and that's going to update the image for me. So now if I kind of jump back and forth, I can see a couple of my images all set up. Right. So I would suggest you, and this is a strong suggestion, I would get the shots that you want to get perfect. Do them when you've got your model in its base state. So like whatever you bring in, wherever you're at, you can even do it early. So if you just want to get into the model, import the model, I should say open the model inside of Twinmotion from Revit, and you're going to get all this wonderful ability to set up these views. And then you can start to focus on the other parts of the building that are going to add a kind of sense of ambience or a sense of the building itself. You know, what am I trying to, back to the idea of what am I trying to convey with the image? Really helpful stuff. I think that, you know, the views, certainly the first one, right? A little bit more advanced. If we wanted to, we can also look at, these are, do I want to talk about this now? I'm trying to think how to do this right, guys. So I want you guys to have the best experience here. So I just wanted to kind of show you how the kind of final images and then walk you through how I got here. So why don't I jump back to videos? So those are the images, get them set up, and then we'll walk through kind of how to get materials on the building and this sort of thing. So also set up a couple videos here. So if I click on my little video here, you're basically setting up keyframes. So for keyframes, for those of us who don't know what keyframes are, there are essentially view 1, and then it's going to pan to view 2. So I got view 1, view 2. If I hit this little play button here, I'm going to start view 1, right? So this idea of this slow pan across the building, I find these could be really successful. You could speed them up, you can slow them down. There's a little, you can see here, I'm just kind of getting a little bit of a sense of what's going on inside the building. What are my landscaping features like? This is kind of snowy business going on. And then our buddy Victor there below the cat hanging out here. So pretty great, pretty straightforward. I found this to be a really cool way to get across an idea of a building. So just for you guys, you definitely do not have to do this. Exports from the images are brutal. They're so slow. Sorry, from the videos are so slow. It was going to be 36 hours for a 30-second video. So careful with that. Mind you, I was using what's called path tracing. I should probably cover that real quick here. Path tracing is we have two different versions of how the images and the videos are being rendered. And you may or may not see this, but if you do want to experiment, there's a kind of like the baseline real-time renderer. And then if you see this little thing at the top here, we've got path tracer. So if I hit this little path tracer here, it's going to number one, it's going to really slow down my computer. But the second piece is it's really going to improve the quality of the rendering. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hit this, and you'll see here, I say improve as I've got this really odd artifact happening. But I don't know exactly why that artifact is happening yet. I have yet to discover this. But you can see here I've got a couple taking a lot longer to render, right? So we're getting a lot more detail mostly out of the reflections, out of the glass, out of the textures of the building, of the snow that I've got here in the scene, of the trees, right? So this little circle up here, it's slowly rendering, right? So it's, I've got for those of us that know a little bit about GPUs, it is 4070 Ti Super, so it's okay. It's kind of middle range GPU for anybody who's got 4080, 4090. You should be in good shape. If you got a 4060 or on the other side the AMD AMD GPUs there. If you got a 9070, it's gonna work no matter what. It's just how much time it's gonna take. So I did just want to give us a little show off the difference of the one on the left is the real-time render and the one on the right is with our path tracer. So I find, the one on the right, the path tracer, is much better. So the shadows are better, the reflections, especially the reflections in the door here, right? The reflections in a revolving door are much better than the one on the left. Even, Victor is looking a little bit more crisp. I wish he had better shadows on the snow here. And then definitely some of the landscape artifacts are looking pretty good. Okay. Okay, so maybe that was too long. That's okay. What we'll do is now I am going to close out of all this. I'm not going to, I guess I can save. That's okay. I'm going to show you how to get from, whoops. No. From our base model and then import it into Revit itself. So I'm going to fire up my Revit again. Let's grab our model. So whatever model you've got, let's go to fall 2024. We've got tutorials in here hanging out. So I'm going to, I think this is probably the right one. Let's make sure this works. So now we're in your model. We're in whatever model you've got. You want to get started here inside of Twinmotion. So let's get started. First thing we got to do is jump up to our little 3D tab here. So make sure we got 3D on before we do this. I don't know if this actually matters, but I like to keep my little section box all the way out. And let's just take a look at our model, make sure everything looks good. Looks pretty good to me. And now what we can do is jump back to our view tab, go to Twinmotion, and we're going to hit this little open in Twinmotion button. It's going to fire up Twinmotion. Depending again back to how fast your computers are, it's going to help, or depending on how fast your GPU is really governing what's going on here. We've got Twinmotion firing up here, 2024, blah, blah, blah. This is the first screen you're going to see. What you saw before was me hit that existing project just to kind of show you what was going on. For us, if this is you and you're just getting started, grab new project. So we got a little new project. This is what's called the direct link function. So any changes we make inside of our Revit model are going to be pulled into Twinmotion. So your screen might look like this. We just hit this little options tab and it's going to drop this little drop down menu. Couple different options for the collapse here, which we got the keep hierarchy, collapse by material, collapse all. So keep hierarchy is it's going to keep all of the Revit information inside of the import. It's probably what we're going to do. Probably makes the most sense. It's how you're going to see every single piece of geometry with its own respective materials inside of the Twinmotion interface. Second one is collapse by material. So this is essentially, limiting the number of materials we've got by materials. So there's not as many objects per se. It's going to keep just the materials inside of the model. So this might, for me, if I had a really clean model with everything all set up, I might actually choose to do collapse by material, because it means I'm just swapping out materials that I know to be true. So, and then collapse all is going to be how we're going to do like a clay render, if that's really what we want to do. But there are other ways to get to clay render, so I probably never use collapse all. Anyhow, keep hierarchy, that's what we're going to hit. So keep hierarchy, we got full precision UV. So a UV is basically a little map. So how an object has been kind of given a material on it. It's the maps. Normals, that's fine, we'll just leave it. Process, I'm just going to do all. Let's just use original, that's fine. And leave this off for now. I'm just going to hit OK, and we should see Twinmotion start to think. This little direct link populating. And now, remembering what my final product looked like, this is what I started with. So this is what I started with, right? Total garbage. Actually, it's not so bad. Total garbage. So what we end up with is inside of the interface here, this little piece of geometry here it comes just standard as part of the Twinmotion interface here. We've got just some basic geometry, so it's just a flat kind of desert-like thing. And you can see here some really brutal materials here. So this is straight from Revit. It's pretty gnarly. It's why I wanted to show you guys the kind of the post, because I feel like this is looking a little nuts. So if I kind of come in here, right, you might notice in your model you've got some weird pieces of geometry here. So this is straight from Twinmotion. You can go ahead and delete these things. So this is pedestal, starting base, graphics, toast. And so now I've got all of my fun little brutal geometry here, but that's okay. So we've got some really rough looking materials. So this is what I was saying before. I jumped straight to getting materials onto the building because I was like, what on earth have I done? So you may choose to do it that way, but what I would propose is we choose a couple of images first. So what do we really want to see in our renderings? And back to that idea here, I'm going to try and emulate what we had in the other model. And roughly speaking, so it's probably somewhere around here. Let's grab this. Let's give us a couple examples here. So pedestrian mode, and set my camera. So I'm going to pull up my media here, and I'm going to create my first image here. So this is a first step for me. You may have a different approach to this, but my first step here, I'm going to ignore this for now. I'm going to jump to camera, and we're going to set it to be, let's set it to be 20. That's probably fine for now. A little vignetting, right? It's all good. This looks good for now. And it's going to roll a little bit. Whoops, roll a little bit here. Something isn't quite playing right with my, probably just got to back up a little bit. Let's do something like this. Wonderful. So I'm going to delete this for now. I don't really want to. Here we go. Let's just do it like this. Here we go. Something like this. Do I like this? Sure, that's fine. And remember, we're just gonna come over here. We're gonna hit this little refresh. Make sure we got there. I'm just gonna do a couple here. Let's pull back. Let's go all the way to, what do we say? We're gonna do another one. Gonna grab, what did I say, 35 in here. So let's grab 35. And hopefully it doesn't kick me out. Okay, cool. So we're cool. Okay, let's do, scroll down a little bit, and I'm gonna grab my align camera here, and boom. Interesting, why is it? Okay, that's cool. And I'm gonna come down here and refresh again. And let's just do one more. So let's do that one shot over here. Let's make sure we're aligned. Something like this. And we'll do another shot here. Cool, right? So a couple views here. That's all good. We will jump to, it's probably a shortcut to do this, but jump to drone. I just don't know what it is. Jump to drone view here. You can see I've got those couple shots. And now one thing immediately, as soon as I opened the model, I went, oh my goodness, this glass looks horrendous. How do I change it? Right? So this really bad looking green glass. So a couple things here. I went, how do I change this immediately? Get out of here. And if we jump over here on the left here, if I click open this materials, I've got, you look at all these materials. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. All of the materials that we would ever want. So usually, I should say, usually in a rendering software, you've got to get all this set up, guys. You got to get every single piece of these set up. So I'm used to like customizing every single piece of geometry, every single piece of, the bitmap for each of these textures, the texture map, the bitmap, the displacement map, whatever we need to get the kind of perfect texture. And I would argue that it's just out of the box. It's just done. So you have saved, you wouldn't believe how much time this saves. I was blown away. It's amazing. So why don't we just go ahead and we'll get started. So what I would say is a couple immediate things. I went, ooh, this glass is looking really bad. So apparently glass is much better than it used to be in the software. And I should say there's a couple things here we want to take care of is along the top toolbar here. There are, if I hold my mouse button here, we've got replace material, apply to object, and apply to selection. So this is going to be really important for when we're looking at materials here. Replace material is going to take any material that you've got assigned to this material. In this case, we've got glass, and it's going to replace all of the materials that you've said were glass with this new material. It is awesome. I was like, oh my God, this is going to save so much time. Second thing is if you don't want to do it to all of those materials, you can do it kind of piece by piece by piece. This is basically like a material override. So you can hit this and you can do piece by piece. For us, most of what we're going to do is going to be replace all of these materials. And then the other thing we can do is actually I'm going to close my media tab here by just clicking, and then I'm going to open the material piece here. So the material tab, you see click once, click twice. You can see all this stuff kind of hanging out here. And quit media mode. That's cool. Okay, I think that's cool. And now we've got all these materials. These are the materials straight from Revit. They're pretty bad. This glass, horrendous. Brick, terrible. The metal around the doors, horrendous. I can't believe how bad the materials are coming out of Revit, considering that they are partners with the same company makes 3D Studio Max, right? Ridiculous. So that all being said, let's get some good looking glass on this building. And I think I chose clear glass before, but we'll go through some options just so you can see it. So I'm going to keep this replace materials open. And what you do is I've got my materials browser open, and I'm going to grab clear, let's do reflective glass actually. Let's grab this. I'm going to click it, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to drag it. Are you kidding me? I'm going to click, drag, drop. And I've dropped it now. Every piece of glass on the building is now that type of glass. Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. Fantastic. So just so you can see that a little bit differently, if I make it mirror, now we've got mirror. Of course, you don't see any reflections. So this used to drive me crazy when I was, first starting to figure this out. Now I got a wonderful mirror building. So why don't I see any reflections, guys? Because I don't have an environment. So this used to make me crazy when I was just starting out doing some of these renderings but I want to see, why does the glass look so flat? Why does the glass look so, like nothing's there? So I'm going to go through and do a couple materials, and then we'll jump to, actually, you know what? Forget it. Let's do the environment right now. So why don't I have anything reflecting? Well, there's nothing there. If I turn around, the reason I don't see anything in my reflection, the reason I don't see anything in my reflection is, I find this really tedious, is because there's nothing there. It's just a desert. So how do we get a very simple way of getting some reflection into our glass? I got a question this morning from someone asking, what's an HDRI map? And HDRI is basically a way of, it's a big image inside of our project that we can kind of assign to encapsulate the entire scene. So before I go any further, I think it's probably helpful to throw an HDRI map on here so we can see, the sky's looking a little rough. The sky is looking a little rough right now, and a little plain, and the ground is also looking a little rough, which spoiler alert is why we had winter there, because I didn't have time to get to the floors. What do I need to do? I need to get to a HDRI map. And how do I get there? I'm going to jump back into this little palette here. I'm going to go to my library, and I am going to look for HDRI environment. So look at this. So we've got HDRI already kind of here, and this could be a really quick way just to get to some of these domed environments. So outdoor, what do I want? Do I want the Decolo night? Do I want some woods maybe? Do I want a yellow field? And what we can do is very similarly, I have to log in, guys. So I did notice this, so it's a good thing to talk about anyways, is we have access to so much content. It is unbelievable inside of Twinmotion here. There's access to so much content. We've got, you might see it's very faded here. This little down arrow, little download spot. And first thing I got to do, it's going to say, please sign into Twinmotion, whatever. So we got to come up here, go to File, sign in to Epic Games. So I got to sign in here. Authentication has proceeded, blah, blah, blah. It's all good. And now if I hit this little download here, it's going to download that HDRI map. And that HDRI map is going to do a ton of stuff for us. It's going to create basically a little atmosphere for the whole project. It's also going to create some reflections for us. It can act as a light source, so I'll walk through what that looks like. But so now it's downloaded. Very similarly, I'm going to click and hold and drag it onto the screen here, and I'm going to drop it into the sky. Drop it into the sky, and it's going to do a little thinking. It's object creation. It's creating a dome around our whole building, so around the whole site, I should say. And we should start to see some reflections in the glass and a light source and some of these fun things. So hopefully this is going to load. Might have picked a very large one. Ta-da! So we should start to see, you can see here, we got a little bit of a reflection happening, right? So we could see, you know, just even a little bit of those items across the street. You can see automatically it's jumped to my media mode here. So I've got media mode over here, so environment. And we can do all sorts of fun things with this. So we got the HDRI map on here. We could do all sorts of, you know, if we'd rather have these other ones, it's also totally cool. It's a whole bunch of different HDRI maps we can use. On the right, we have weather. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You know how long this would have taken 10 years ago? So, you know, it's raining. Are you kidding me? It's raining. Okay, it's sunny. It's raining. We've got, maybe we want a little snow. This is snowing. Maybe we want a little, maybe it's packed, hard pack we got on the ground. Maybe it's snowing and we got some hard pack, right? Unbelievable settings in here, guys. Unreal. So for now, I'm going to leave us a little sunny day. It's not too sunny out today. It's a little snowy, but that's okay. One thing, I'll turn off precipitation here. So details down here. And change the location. Sorry, I'm trying to get to HDRI environment. Here we go. So all the way down here, we've got Sky Dome, much like the Sky Dome here. So we have a domed. If I'm going to rotate around here, I'm going to have a Sky Dome of a completely forested environment. Right, so all forests all the time. And what I'm truly after is if we zoom in here, come up a little bit. We've got just some gentle reflections here, right? So some gentle reflections could just start to help with the overall view of our building, how it's kind of tonally looking. But we can also change things like the rotation. So let's do rotation first. You can see maybe I want the rotation. You can see how the sun is changing with my HDRI map, right? So that is linked. In this case, it's linked to the HDRI. Usually it's nicer to have the sun kind of on the front of our building, but I leave it to you to decide what's nicest for us. So let's just do it like this, right? We can change the intensity, right? So we can make it really bright. We can make it, you know, not so bright. So let's, you know, modify it to, let's call it 2. And so HDRI effects lighting, on, off, right? We can also match it to the sun. So if we want to turn that off, we can keep our sun separate, or we can keep it the same. So it's up to you how you want to do it. It can be helpful to keep them the same. Some people like to keep them completely separate. That's cool. So good so far. We've got, what else do we got here? So I'll jump down. What else did I really want to mess with here? So I did find as well, in terms of the materials here, if I was going to jump in, let's grab, you know, what do we want on our kind of the frames of our windows? Remember that we've got this little piece here, replace all materials. So let's say I want to do a nice little bronze piece here. Actually slightly worn, look how nice this is, slightly worn bronze. We're going to drag it across, looking a little shiny for me. A little stiff. Whew. It's probably it's not so bronzy. So as soon as we've put the material into our library, basically, we've got, you can see here, I've got clear glass, I've got slightly worn bronze. On the right side of the screen here, we've got all these settings that have now opened up, and we've got, you know, how metallic is it? We can change that. We can change the intensity of the roughness. So you make it really rough, you make it really shiny, for example. If I go all the way up here, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. The grunge. So the grunge is literally, it's supposed to be how weathered does it look. You can see as I increase it, it's giving it a little bit of a patina, which is, sure, I guess that's cool. Luminosity. So luminosity is how bright is the material. So maybe we want to turn that down or up. I actually think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tint here. So I'm going to change this tint, make it a little darker, make it a little more chocolatey bronze. But again, you can see that everything is updating real time, right? Pretty slick. So it has not updated all of my pieces. My guess is that this window here is, you know, it's not looking quite as chocolatey as I want it. Let's keep going here. So, okay, I'll leave that for now. anyhow, it's keeping our materials in our little materials palette on the bottom here. So we got slightly warm bronze, we got clear glass, we got mirror. You know, these are things that I've inserted into the project. If I want to come down here and change any of this stuff, if I want to say changing color is probably the fastest way. If I want to change the tint of this, it should automatically update my glass, right? So it's updating every single piece of that glazing. It's a wonderful ability to have for as you're kind of trying things out. You get the materials assigned, and then you can start to really test them. What else do we want to do? Maybe we want to change this brick out, right? So let's see if we can find a nice brick. Maybe you can find that gray brick that I was using in the other project here. I think it's this one, clean brick, something like this. So I saw this and I went, what the heck is going on here? So if I zoom in, we'll see that we have a teeny tiny brick here. So a teeny tiny brick. Not so hot. And what we're going to want to do is change the scale of that brick. So if I come down here to UV, so UV again is kind of, think of it like an unfolded pattern. And I'm going to increase the scale to around, you know, you can experiment here. It's probably even bigger than 6. Something like this, right? But you can see here, all of my brick. How do my edges look? Look all right. The edges look pretty good. We've got some fun, you know, some fun stuff happening here. So for instance, if I also want to create a, you know, make this revolving door also bronze, I can just hold, drag. Same thing with my door. I probably want to keep these all the same color and fit. So you can see here, I've also got my little door handle. I can make that all bronze, you know, starting to come together, right? So exterior wise, we've got something happening. I don't know if it's perfect, but it's something. And if we jump back to my media here, we should see. Oh, I'm going to have to update that. Okay. We should see the HDRI maps have not been updated in these, so I'm going to have to double check why that's not working. But what we will do is, oh, do I just have to enable it? I see. So that should be pretty straightforward. I should just be able to enable this and it should be good. But the reason this is like this is that we can independently set up all of those parameters within each view, right? So each view can have its own parameters, which, you know, may or may not be helpful for you if you want to kind of craft a building that's got multiple different seasons and settings. Of course, this is going to be part of that that piece. So it actually looks like is the rotation correct? Let's jump to, where is my HDRI map? Oops. Cancel. Gonna give it to me. Where is my... Word. Okay, I don't know how to get to the HDR map from where I am right now, so let's see if we can just fly back here. Oops, HDRI. Let's see if we can just fly back here. It's not going to give it to me. Oh, right, I'm in the wrong thing. Let's see if we can go to outdoor here. Nope. Oh, ambience. Now I remember. Okay, perfect. So ambience is where our HDRI map lives. I totally forgot about this. So this ambience at the very, very top of our hierarchy here. So we got ambience in here. I can go ahead and I can mess about with some of this stuff. So all I wanted to check was what is the rotation here. So I got 306. So for instance, if you're like, oh man, I should have set all this up stuff first. It's interesting now going through it and doing it this way. I might actually set up all the HDRI stuff first and then come back in. But I do think it's also nice to do it this way. So 306 is our rotation here. Each of these it can be different. 306, enter. And interesting. Why is that doing that? Anywho, 306, it should be, oh, because it's 2.0. That's why. Okay, 2.0. So you can see all these settings here. I got to come back in here and mess with them. So rotation was 306, right? Yellow field. Hold on. Do I have the right HDRI map? I have a different HDRI map. So guys, so super quick. Realizing that you can set this up to have different HDRI maps per view. So I'm realizing this is my bad. Every single view can have a different HDRI map. I didn't realize this until just now. So we've got this one has no HDRI map. So of course, every single view you would need to come back in and set up our little view. Luckily, it's already loaded here, but that is hilarious. So that's my bad. But in terms of setting up our views, it could be really helpful, I still think, to get those views set up first. What else we want to do? Let's get in here. Let's go inside. And maybe, actually, you know what? Let's not go inside. Let's do outside first. So maybe you were wondering, okay, cool. How did he set up all those other trees and stuff? So let's jump back to library here. You can see here, I welcome you guys to mess around with this. This is phenomenal. I cannot believe that this exists in this way. What I've got right now is this little tool set inside of my library here where I can grab characters. So let's grab some animated humans. So you could say, let's just grab Amir, sure. And if I pull him in, and I can rotate him around, I'm just kind of, clicking and dragging, right in this little box here. We can rotate him. So if we want to rotate him, if we want to move him along an axis, or we just want to move him in general, throw him here. He's animated, right? It's so fun. That's a person. Wild. If we want to jump back into, let's jump to vegetation. So trees, for instance, I had grabbed a couple of these trees for us. So Japanese white larch. It's going to grab it and throw it into our rendering somewhere fun. As soon as before I do anything else, as soon as I've inserted this little tree here, I've got the age of the tree. So if I kind of come across, I can shrink it or make it larger. I've also got, I could change the season, which I thought it's not going to let me. Interesting. So this does have, oh, of course, I'm so silly. This is a coniferous tree. They're all the same. If I was to grab let's see if I can find that Japanese maple that was in here. Let's just do a birch. Sure, grab a birch tree. Doesn't really matter. Grab this little birch tree. If I change this to winter, look at this, unbelievable, right? So usually what we would do is just leave it to auto. So auto will let us just automatically assess. So if I change the season, it's going to automatically update this for us. So again, I can rotate these. I can move them. Just starting to give a little bit of feeling to the overall environment. Let's grab a couple more. What do we got in here? I'm going to grab another one of these bad boys, put them over here, make them a little bit bigger. Something like this. Maybe we grab a little red oak, throw them in the back here. Very interesting choice of trees, but it's cool for now. I'm not much of a landscape person, but start to imagine what we would want to craft for our building. Whoops, I keep wanting to hit Z, but it's actually E to go down for whatever reason. And then maybe we've got some vegetation here. See some bushes. So we got some bushes in here, some bush bases. If I grab this, and if I hold Shift and select and drag, I can copy this. So I can kind of say, okay, let's do 3 here. Stuff like this. I don't think we're going to have any tropical plants, but maybe we've got some bushes in here. I can rotate this to make them look a little bit different. Oops. So if I hold Shift, I can copy again. And let's just do 2. It's cool. Rotate them. Something like this. You can see we're just starting to try to give ourselves a little bit of landscaping around the building. And what else do we got? So we got library, and we can jump back into, I say vegetation, but not landscapes. It is rocks. So, I had thrown some rocks in here, some nice little rocks hanging out. We can rotate them. I welcome you to mess around with this. It's pretty fun, if I'm being honest, and pretty straightforward to throw some of these. Some of these are quite a bit bigger. So if I've got, someone's out here, grab this, and some benches. So what else we got? We got some benches, landscapes. No, I keep wanting to hit that. It is in, what's in MISC? Some tree stumps. So some other stuff, if you really want to get wild, there's definitely some other stuff in here we can get. Rocks and then miscellaneous. But let's jump back to libraries. We've got characters. It's all good. Objects. So objects, city, benches. I had thrown a bench in here. I'm going to rotate it just so Amir can have a spot to sit down. So on and so forth. Starting to build up what may or may not be a good, maybe I got some other, jump back into to some bushes here. Maybe want some bush bases. Can be helpful to help us hide some of the edges of the building, if that's what we want to do. I should say there's a couple things in here. We can also, we've got, I think this is rotate. So if you'd rather, instead of doing what I was doing here, we've got this little rotate tool. We can rotate it by hitting that little rotate tool or move it here. And then we can also scale. So scale, you're going to get a little odd, but you can scale one-dimensionally. Must be a way to scale all together. Yeah, so if you hold the middle one, you can scale all together. Oh, size. So you can also just scale like that. Ta-da! Very fun, right? So let's jump back to our view here. You could see, maybe I want to just rotate this a little bit, right? A little bit. I can update this. Something like this. Sure. Looks good. What else do we want to do? Maybe we want to, do we like this top edge? Do we want to give ourselves a little bit, jump back to our material palette? If I jump back into our material palette and maybe we want a little bronze edge at the top here. Sure, that looks all right. And, for me, what I had done, because I just didn't think that I had time to go through all this stuff, was I had set our view to our ambience to wintertime, of course. So if I scroll all the way up here, I'm going to set us to the winter, give us a little bit of snow here. You can start to see things are coming together. One thing you might notice is that my background is not so hot for a wintertime view, but my trees look pretty good. The trees look pretty good, right? So trees look very wintry. Poor Amir is out here freezing. But, just to give us an idea of what's going on here, you got some snow on the roof. Come back down here. And I'm still missing my insides, but we're off to a good start here, right? And if I jump back to two things that I want to do here, probably want to mess around with my my wintertime sky. So let's see if we can find something from the wintertime. I honestly can't remember what I used in excuse me. I can't remember what I used in the other setting there. So I'm just going to try and find one. But outdoors here, let's grab, it was probably just even something like, I think I actually used Decolo Night here. So let's see if we can, I did, because it's open. So I'm going to drag and drop it here. It's going to think again. Okay, so it's open. It's good. It's looking a little deadly, but that's okay. So nothing wrong with that. Now, if I jump back to my my media here, and I do think I will, again, I'm going to have to update my Decolo Night here. And also update my my settings. So this is interesting. It's not something I'd considered, is that every single view you're going to need to update that setting unless you set it up to begin with. So my bad, but that's okay. That's basically what I would do. Anyhow, is you can either set up all of these settings first and then generate your views, or you can do what I did and you can set up your views first, or you can set up your materials first. I leave it to you guys. It's really a matter of fact. You could also very quickly just update them after the fact. You can see here if I just want to jump in here and grab Decolo Night, and set my view back to if I want this to be all wintertime, snowing, right? We're pretty close to where we need to be. So not ideal, but not so bad. Wintertime, snowing, right? Pretty dope, guys. This is a pretty amazing software, if I'm being honest. It's I've never had a piece of software update things so quickly and so kind of seamlessly. It's fantastic. So I don't know what else to say. That is so far. So let's start. Let's go inside. Let's go inside the building. So what else do we got to do? Looking a little. Apologies, I'm getting all messed up here. Excuse me. Looking a little deadly, guys. Looking a little deadly on the inside. So, couple of things. I'm going to set to pedestrian mode here. So let's set up pedestrian mode here, just so I can kind of walk around. And you can see here, we've got some pretty mundane textures on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can update a couple of these things. Why don't we find a healthy flooring material? So I'm partial to a marble. I was actually partial to a terrazzo, but they didn't really have something that I liked. So, maybe we hate this, maybe we like it. It's up to you. You can type marble. If you don't want to do that, you can come in here, you can grab, I don't even know where marble is. Oh, marble and granites. So what's funny is that I saw marble. I didn't see any granite in here. Maybe they got granite. I saw lots of marbles. I saw lots of marbles, but no granites, because I was looking for granite and I couldn't find it. So that's all good. Let's choose one of these, something with a little texture in here. Let's do this green marble. So floors, beautiful green marble. Let's do this. Boom. I hate it. Let's do something else. Maybe this one. Also bad. So what one did I use last time? I must have used something with a little more flavor. Oh, I hate this one too. So you can see how difficult this can get when we're trying to think of things that we like and to make them look as kind of compelling as possible. We could just stick to it. Oh man, this is so yellow. So yellow, guys. Stones are tough. Stones are tough. That's why I like a nice terrazzo, but nothing really. You know what? Let's go all the way back here and see if we can find a terrazzo. Maybe terrazzo stones. What is this? Oh, I gotta download it. I hope this is a finish we can use. Whew, looking a little rough. Maybe. Let's try one of these. Let's try one of these. And if it doesn't work, we will figure it out. Maybe. Oh, wonderful. It's not what I wanted at all. That's okay. Let's jump back to granites and marbles, and let's do green for now. That's fine. And I'm just going to change it to, I'm going to change the tint over here. So remember, we can change the tints of any of these. I'm just going to delete these so I don't get confused. I right click, delete. And now I got this green marble in here. I'm going to add let's add a little darker tint to our little system here. Scroll down there. And then I'm going to scale this up. So let's see if we can. Looking a little bit cleaner, a little bit less. I also want it to be a little metallic. Let's see if we can give it a little bit of a reflection. Maybe metal's not going to do it. Can I do a clear coat on it? Nice. A little clear coat here. So I'm just adjusting some of these settings. So a little bit of reflection here. You can see that not everything is perfect here, but we're starting to get it to come together. So one thing that I noticed was this door is going to make it impossible for me to walk through. But now I've got some of our pieces started here. I'm actually going to get rid of the ceiling too. I didn't like it so much. What if we throw our bronze onto our entire structure? So watch that again, and I click and drag my bronze onto the structure here. Maybe I'll also do it on the elevator, right? The elevator door is different from the elevator frame. I got to grab that, right? Our desks, what color do we want our desks to be? You know, maybe we also do a little bronze here. So, oh, that's looking a little. But, you know, every single desk is now bronze, right? In the whole office. How dope is that? How fantastic is that? We look outside, it's looking pretty snowy. Let's see if we can find a leather. So library, let's look up a little leather in here. And got a full grain in here. Boom. Full grain leather on every chair. Why not? Ooh, what happened to my doors over here? So I'm going to come back in, slightly worn bronze. All right, nice little frame here. Maybe do I want to pick a wood? Maybe I can find a nice wood in here. Don't want that. Ash. Is there a walnut we can grab? Chestnut. Mahogany gonna do us? Let's see if we can find walnut instead. Whoops. Walnut. Ooh. We go stack bond, Monticello parquet. I don't want any of this parquet. What are you talking about, parquet? Walnut veneer. Here we go. So veneer is just, you know, it's kind of what this is, but it's a little bit nicer. So let's see what we can grab here. Veneer, is it downloading for me? Hopefully. Uh-oh. It's huge. Aha. Okay, let's see what we got. Ooh, looking a little rough. So what we can do is that little walnut there, I'm going to scale that up a little bit. Let's do... Color's okay, but where is my scale? Oof. Even that's a little rough, but that's okay. That's okay. It's not so bad for our purposes right now. So I did notice I actually found this little ceiling in here, a little obtuse. So what we'll do is we'll grab that, toss that away. Let's see if we can find a nice metal ceiling. So I'm going to jump in here. Let's see if we can find materials and are there ceilings? I can't remember. I think I may have just searched ceilings when I did it last time. So let's just see what we got. Ceilings. Something like an A60 by 240, sure. Oh, see? So this is, look at that. So because I've got my replace all set up, right? So it's giving me my gypsum on my left and the right. It's giving me gypsum everywhere. So I don't want that. What we can do is we can actually swap out this. If I hold apply to object, and now it will just apply to the ceiling. I want to rotate this. So I'm going to rotate it 90. Whoops. Give me 90 in here. Scale up a bit. And see if we can get it matching our lines a little bit better. So that's okay. And now, I don't know why the color is looking a little yellow here. So I don't know if that's just a reflection happening. But what we can do here is I'm just going to assign it to, whoops, I'm going to assign it to the rest of our ceiling. So replace material, and grab it, throw it on here. All of our ceilings are looking the part. Right, so starting to give ourselves a little bit of an interior here. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a start. What else do I want to do? What did I have in my other image here? I had some people. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab some people from our little, what where is our characters here? I'm going to grab groups. So we can just grab groups and drop them in. Look at this nonsense. You guys, oh, there's somebody playing a piano. I don't want that. Groups of people. Try and make sure they're not interfering with the objects, right? I know there's also seated people. So if I grab posed humans, I'm going to look at some business people. So I know we've got David. I'll put him at reception. So David's sitting at reception here. We'll populate him, rotate him around so he's looking very candidly at us. I'm actually going to delete these and let's see if we can find some objects here. So I've got for city. Where are we? Don't want this. Objects. And oh, there is. I'm just going to look up reception desk real quick. Let's see. We've got something. Okay, this is where I found it. So same thing. Going to give David a nice little reception desk here. Hold shift. Click, and we've got a nice little second piece here. We will just keep it in line. It's all good for now. So one thing that can really help start to generate some of the lighting effects in our software here is we need to add some lights, right? So what we need to do is we're actually going to jump into two things. One, the first thing is going to be our Sketchfab here. I'm going to grab some. There's a whole bunch of lighting in here. So I'm going to see if I could find a pot light. Spotlight, give it to me. Maybe not. Turned off something by accident. Wonderful. Okay, so I don't have what I need in here. Let's jump back to objects and home. Let's see if we got some lights in here. Lamps. Let's search the whole library. Let's see what we got. Light. Perfect. So I really hope that you guys have lights inside of your models already coming from Revit. This doesn't seem to be as straightforward as I thought it was going to be, which sucks. But usually what would happen is we would have some sort of object that we could grab, like a piece of lighting. If I can find one, that would be great. And maybe it's an architecture. Oh my God, look at all this stuff. So this Sketchfab is amazing. It's got a whole library of all of this stuff. I just don't know where the parts actually live. So I'm trying to find something to do with, oh my goodness, this is not helpful. So let's see if we can get, I don't really want this domed light. Maybe ceiling light? Maybe we can get that. I have a feeling it's going to try and search for both ceiling and light rather than, okay, maybe. Okay, this might do us. This may do us, in fact. Let's see how big this is. Not perfect, but it's okay for now. So a couple things happening here. I'm going to scale this. So we're going to scale it just a little bit. Oops. And then I'm going to come back and move it. Let's move it here. And maybe I can also have to come back to my drone mode here. Get nice and close to my light. Whoops. And I'm just going to give it my slightly worn bronze here. Oh, it may not let me. Okay, I was thinking that we could do two things here. It looks like I'm not going to be able to do what I was planning on doing. That's okay. I was trying to get what's called neon in here. So neon, if I type neon, oh, I'm in Sketchfab. If I come back in here and I go to lights, I'm looking for neon. Oh, it's material, excuse me. It's the materials I'm looking for, neon. And we can actually just set, nuts. So usually we'd be able to set just a portion of this light to that to look as if it was on. I'm going to try this one more time, see if we can find a Sketchfab material that is going to do us better. This light is not doing it for us. So let's look up Sketchfab ceiling fixture. Let's look at light fixture. Interesting that I can't find one. You would think that there would be one in here that I could use. Light ceiling. Okay. Well, guys, I'm not sure what to tell you. I ain't gonna still use this one, which, okay, or not. What is this? That's not what I want. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. And one thing that we can do is to, I'm surprised that, I don't know why that light's not turning on per se, but okay, that sucks. Gonna jump back to lighting. So let's go into lighting itself. And what you actually have to do is, these lights aren't necessarily going to be active. So we actually have to assign a light to them. And for us, for most of us, we're probably gonna set this to have a little bit of a spotlight. So the spotlight here, you can turn it off or on. You can see how I am, whoops, you know, might be a little bright for us, but turn it off or on. You can change the color temperature. We can change the cone angle. Maybe we want to make it a little smaller. We can change the intensity. Maybe 300 lumens is too much. All right, so we can change it to maybe, let's do 50 lumens. So that's cool. Whoops. $50 LM. And now, where did my light go? I see. Gotta try and locate it close to where this is. Do my best here. See if it's, is it above the ceiling? Is that what's happening? Anyhow, what we're gonna do now is we are gonna grab both of these. I can't tell what is happening here. The light is still there. Why is it not quit media mode? Is this why? So right now I've got both of those selected, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to move them, and hopefully this works, but oops. Oh, it's shifting between selections. Okay, hold shift and I'm going to select over, let's do all the way over here, and let's just do 2, 3 of these like this. And now, oops. I'm also going to copy these lights over. So, oh, word. So I've done something, guys. I don't know how to turn my, I should be able to see these lights in real time. I don't know why I can't see them. So I'm going to undo all that. I don't know what's going on. Essentially, that's how you place lights. I can't figure out why it's not showing up. Apologies. I'm going to have to come back to that. But one major thing that we're going to do is make sure that we've got area lights set up. So area lights are just a way of kind of communicating to the whole scene that we've got some lighting in here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hold shift here. I'm going to try and locate it to my second light source here. Something's happening. So hold shift, move it over, and I'm going to do 3 of these. And it's going to, you'll see that I'm actually following in line with where these are located in Revit, right? So I'm trying to figure out exactly where to throw these. I'm just going to do 1. There we go. But yeah, I've somehow managed to turn off the function, which I was looking for earlier, funnily enough. I was looking for a function to figure out why there's some shortcut I've tapped on my keyboard that turns off and on the light features here. Regardless, that is one way of getting our lighting into the view here. So I realize that's probably not everything you need to know, but I did get as much as I could into, hopefully this can get you started. If we jump back to our media tab here, we should start to see, if I jump to here, we should start to see some of these things start to glow and be a little bit better than they were. If I hit my little path tracing here, we're gonna end up with, again, a little bit better quality. I'm thinking this glass is actually looking a little green. I might come back in there and fix that up. Something's going on here. So let's grab this glass again, change out what's going on here. So glass, let's do clear glass 1. I think this is already the one I've got in here, but that's okay. It's looking a little better. Clear glass 1. Let's do that one instead. And now, we've got a couple views set up, a couple materials set up, right? If I want to build a video, start here. I'm going to grab this over here, hit plus, and then I'm going to move all the way over here, hit plus again. I'm actually going to make it 30 seconds. And if I hit play, whoops, I'm going to back all the way up. You'll see that I've got, again, that kind of idea of I've got this scrolling piece of video across my building. Sorry, guys, this was a ton of stuff. I'm going to send a little YouTube video link to what I thought was really helpful as well. But this is a good start for us, I think. And what I'll do is if you do have questions, this should get us started for the most part. But I appreciate the feedback, any comments you've got. I do think that I got some messing around to do as well, but hopefully this video has been at least a little bit helpful for us to get to, something that looks like this, trying to choose images, first, and then trying to get around how we want our background to look. Those HDRI environments can be really helpful for indoors or outdoors. I mostly use them for outdoors. Sorry, I should be clear here. I usually use them for outdoors just in terms of sky, setting up these sky boxes. Sky domes, they call them. But, starting to get pretty good. I should mention, actually, just before I forget here, is that in order to get images out of our software, we're going to hit this little export key, and we're going to hit image and hit this little plus sign, and it's going to say, okay, which images do you want to export? We're going to select them all, and then we can even select our video if we wanted to. Hit start export. Oh, whoops. You know what? There's also in here, there are details. We probably want to set our, I'm realizing if I jump in here, there's one thing that I hadn't considered was that we can actually set our view size. Probably 3840 by 2160 is probably what you guys are going to want to do, but you can set it to whatever size you think is adequate. 3840. Whoops. By 2160. Maybe you want to set it to something like this. But remember that these are all raster images. So once they have been exported, you can't scale them. They are, 3840. 3840 by 2160. Roughly, you can make them whatever size you want. But there are also some, FXs in here. I saw that what I had done was I actually added a copper filter here. You're welcome to kind of mess around with these if you want. You can mess with them. Sometimes they're nice. Sometimes they're not so nice. So this is looking a little heavy for me. Maybe we just make an ANSO instead, for example. And if I jump back into my image, just make sure everything looks good. Ultra 8 UHD. All looks good. Hit export and make sure we've got our images selected. So make sure we've got our images selected. You can select as many images as you want within the ones that you've set up. and hit start export. And you're going to just select the folder. It's going to start thinking. It's going to give me, a little bit of time to make those images, and then we should be able to come out of it with something. So we got 2 minutes here. Hopefully not that long. Got a pretty speedy processor here. But anyways, I hope that gives you guys a flavor for how to get up and running, at least on the outside. I apologize. The inside stuff there is a little bit flaky with the lighting there. I've done something. I don't know enough about the shortcuts. I've hit some shortcut to turn off the lighting. I have to come back and see if I can help you guys out with that. But for the outside, I hope this gets us started. Those area lights can be really helpful to get us organized. You should see, as things start to populate here, you should see on wherever you've saved the information for the exports, you should see some images start to come up. So I've got, I just hit date here, I should see. That's yesterday. Where is today? Maybe not. Maybe it's not coming up yet. Got to give it a couple minutes here. So I got 2 minutes just to kind of fire it up. So I should say that any changes that you make inside of Twinmotion are not reflected inside of Revit. So those ceilings that I deleted, they will not be live updated back to Revit, right? So at least that's what I understand. You guys let me know if that's not the case, but that's how I understand it. So you can kind of make those changes. Let's see what those little images look like. And if I just jump to desktop here, I've got 1134, and not bad, for a couple minutes worth of work. I think we've done all right. So, I definitely spent a little bit more time in the model trying to get some of these other. If I jump back to my original images here, there's I'll go this way. You can see there's a little bit more care given with these images. I was pretty quick on the ones that I just did with you guys, but anyhow, this is just to get us started. I hope that this has been helpful, and you guys let me know in the comments, or let me know if you need some help with some other stuff. I feel like I will probably do another video just to kind of get across maybe some other ideas that I've missed. And certainly if you've got some questions, some clarity that needs to take place, let me know and I'll get to it. So thanks so much, guys, for hanging out. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.